Hey guys, it's Sarah. So today I am going to be attempting to dupe some new makeup releases with products that I already have in my collection. These videos are really fun for me to do and also really helpful because they encourage me to look at what I already own before I just jump the gun and purchase a product that I don't need. A lot of times, especially with eyeshadow palettes, I already have so many colors of eyeshadows between all of my palettes that I have that in most cases I can pretty closely dupe a palette that comes out. Even if it's not an exact shade for shade dupe, it's close enough that it reminds me that you don't need to spend $50 on this new eyeshadow palette because you pretty much already have all these colors. So it's really fun for me. It's a really good way to keep me focused on using what I have instead of buying new things I don't need. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of these new releases. I also asked you guys on Instagram if there were any new releases that had caught your eye. One that a lot of you guys mentioned that actually I'm really not that interested in purchasing is the Urban Decay Ultraviolet palette. I'm not really interested in it because I don't really wear purple eyeshadow that much. It's actually like my least favorite color to wear on my eyes. I just don't like purple eyeshadow, but it does look like kind of a fun color story, and a lot of you guys said you were interested in it, so I thought, you know what, I kind of just want to challenge myself and see what I can come up with what I have in my collection, because I do have some purple eyeshadows, but I don't have a lot of purple. And I actually surprised myself with how much purple I did have that I didn't even realize I had. So whenever I'm trying to dupe a more colorful palette like this, I usually will look to my singles because that's where I have a lot of kind of fun colors that I may not have in other palettes. So I was able to dupe quite a few of those shadows with some of my ColourPop singles. The first, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shades of this palette are kind of more like neutral warm tones, and so those were easy to dupe because I already have plenty of those in my collection. And then there's kind of like an icy blue green like duochrome looking shade in here that I actually kind of duped by layering two shadows together. I ended up layering Polar from the Shared Planet Polar Bear palette, which is like a duochrome bluish white, with La Playa from ColourPop, which is like a mint green, and those two together I feel like came pretty close to that shade. It's probably not an exact dupe, but close enough. And then all the other purples I found similar dupes for between my ColourPop singles and my Anastasia Norvina palette. The Norvina palette, even though it has purple packaging, it really doesn't have a ton of purples in it, but Celestial and Drama were both similar to some of those Urban Decay shadows. And then there was also a purple in my e.l.f. Opposites Attract palette that looked similar to the more like blue-toned violet color in there. It was that chill shade. So I definitely have a close shade to all of the shadows in this palette, so I definitely won't be buying it. Also because it doesn't really inspire me that much anyway, but I just thought it would be kind of fun to see like what I could come up with, especially since a lot of you guys said you were interested in it. So if you already have some palettes with purples sprinkled in them, you may be able to come up with a pretty similar dupe. So I challenge you to do that if you are interested in that palette, because it was not that hard for me to dupe. It was tricky though because at the time that I'm filming this, there's no swatch picture out yet. I don't even think Urban Decay has announced this yet, but it's on Trend Mood. So I was just going off of like the photos here, which was tricky. So I'm not saying my dupes are shade for shade dupes by any means, but it's close enough for me to know that I definitely don't need to buy that palette. Then there are a couple of smaller palettes I wanted to talk about today. One of them is the new, or it's new-ish, the Natasha Denona Mini Retro palette. So pretty, so pretty. I was able to mostly dupe this, not exactly, but close enough that I was able to talk myself out of buying it. The main palette that I pulled for duping this was my Shared Planet Polar Bear palette again, just because it also has some cooler tones in it. And the Natasha Denona palette is really pretty in that it has like a silver and a gray and then some rosy pinks. But I was able to sort of dupe those middle three shades. The shades were Cub, Chili, and Arctic. Those three, Cub is kind of like a matte rosy color similar to that shade. Chili is a gray, and then Arctic is like a silvery gray. Arctic is a little bit deeper than the one in the Natasha Denona palette, and that one actually, that silver, it almost looks like a greenish silver. So for the dupe photo, I actually ended up layering Arctic from the Shared Planet palette with Platinum from the e.l.f. New Classics palette, which is more of like a greenish silver, and together I feel like they came pretty close to the Natasha Denona one. There's also a couple of like light shimmery colors in there that I duped with Dreamer from the Anastasia Norvina palette, which is like a light pinky champagne. And another palette that I feel like is reminiscent of the Natasha Denona palette is the e.l.f. Quad in Rosewater. Definitely different colors, but the first shade in here is kind of like a really wet looking shimmery pink color, and I feel like that is similar to the light pink in the Natasha Denona one, so that one I also used in my swatches. But I also feel like it has a similar feel to that palette, even though the colors are different and it's only 4 shades as opposed to 5, but sort of similar. I felt like I was able to sort of closely dupe that enough to where I won't buy it. Plus, it's $25 for 5 eyeshadows. This is just kind of a lot for me, so I don't want to buy it, but it is a beautiful color story. Like, even though it's a neutral palette, to me it still looks unique, so it definitely caught my eye. There's a new Charlotte Tilbury quad. A lot of you guys said that you were interested in the new Charlotte Tilbury releases. They have a new quad of like brown matte eyeshadows, and they have a new line of bronzers which look beautiful. I would have tried to dupe the bronzers, but I don't think I can with my collection. The light bronzer looks like a really good like light tone for my skin tone, and I don't have any bronzers that are that light, so I am tempted by that, but there's no way I'm spending $55 on a bronzer. There's just no way, so I'm not gonna buy it, but I would have tried to dupe it, but I just don't think I can, unfortunately. But the Charlotte Tilbury quad, what is that quad called? Let me check. It is their new Desert Haze quad, I think is what it's called. $53. This was easy to dupe, and I'm not even necessarily tempted to buy this, but I figured I'd go ahead and dupe it because it's so easy to dupe. I was able to dupe most of them with ABH shadows, and then that first like matte tan color I actually duped with Bear in Mind from the Milani Bold Obsessions palette. It's just like a light tan color. Looks very similar to the Charlotte Tilbury one. The other 3 shades I actually was able to dupe with my ABH Soft Glam palette. Burnt Orange, Sienna, and Cypress Umber, I felt like were all pretty similar. There's 2 like really warm browns, and then there's a deep kind of chocolatey brown, so that was not hard at all to dupe. I feel like in order to need a quad like that, you would have to have no other eyeshadow palettes in your collection, because if you have a couple of neutral palettes in your collection, you're probably able to already dupe that with just some of the browns in your collection. I mean, most of us already have matte browns multiple times over in our palettes. So, I mean, it looks like it would make a great staple matte brown palette, but $53. So those are the 3 palettes that I feel like are kind of the most hyped up new releases lately. There's also one from Juvia's Place that I'm personally am not interested in. I know people love their shadows, but I saw the palette, I forget what it's called, but the way that the background of the packaging distracts from the actual colors of the eyeshadows drives me crazy. Like, I really do not like the look of that palette. Like, I wish that it would have just had a solid color background so that I could actually like make sense of the color story. Does anybody else feel that way? Like, I really don't like when palettes have like a really distracting, colorful background to the color layout. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? The nice thing recently is that I feel like there haven't been a ton of new makeup releases coming out with the whole pandemic situation, which makes sense, which is actually nice. It's nice for there to not be like so many new releases coming out every single day. It makes it a lot more manageable to like sit down and kind of look through them. There's also a new palette from e.l.f. that's in collaboration with J. Kissa, and it looks beautiful. I don't think I can dupe that honestly with my collection, just because of the nature of the color story. It has like 3 of each color, and I didn't really feel like I could dupe that necessarily, but that does look like a really fun palette. I don't plan to buy it because I feel like I already have enough colorful shadows, and I don't even wear colorful eyeshadow that often, so I don't think I would buy it, but it does look really cute. But those are the main eyeshadow palettes that I've seen released lately. There's also some new bronzers from Kosas that a lot of you guys said you were into. Those look really pretty. Apparently they say that the formula is supposed to be moisturizing, so I'm not sure if it's like a cream powder hybrid or what, So the formula sounds really nice. I don't plan on buying those. I feel like the light shade, which is the one that I would purchase, is really similar to the Milani Baked Bronzer in Dolce, which I already have. Or is it Dulce? I guess if it's Italian, it's Dolce. Anyway, it looks like kind of a goldeny light bronzer color, which my Milani Baked Bronzer also is. So I feel like I can use this one and probably get a similar effect. I'm sure it's a different formula, but that's fine with me. And then finally, Profusion has some new neon colorful liners. I feel like a lot of brands have been coming out with really colorful eyeliners lately. I have been really into colorful liquid liner lately, and so the Profusion ones caught my eye because they're also so affordable. They have a pink, a blue, a yellow, and an orange, and they all look kind of neon. So the main colors out of these that I really like are the blue and the yellow, and I already have a blue and a yellow liquid liner. The blue one I have is from Wet n Wild, not cruelty free, but it's their Voltage Blue liquid liner, really pretty. I wore this in a Get Ready With Me last week. And then I also have the NYX Vivid Brights in Vivid Halo, which is a yellow. It's not quite a neon yellow, it's more of a pastel yellow, but it's still yellow. How many yellow eyeliners do you need? So those are the two, and the pink and the orange, I feel like I probably wouldn't reach for a pink or an orange liquid liner that often. And if I ever did want a pink or an orange liner, I actually have my Profusion Spectrum eyeshadow palette, and any of these shades can totally be worn as a winged liner. You do have to build them up. They're not gonna look quite the same as a liquid eyeliner would, but I mean, the pink and the orange look very similar to the colors of liner that they came out with. So if I ever want a color like that as a liner, I already have it and I can use those. So I'll probably pass on those two, even though they do look really fun. Yeah, it seems like a lot of new really colorful releases are coming out, probably because summer and also like Pride Month. It's a great time for, you know, rainbow fun colors. So I'm enjoying all of these like really colorful releases. NYX also has a really rainbowy palette coming out, along with some colorful liners and lipsticks. It's just, yeah, I'm not really interested in that, but it's $18. It's the Brights palette with 16 shades. It looks pretty, but I don't think I'm gonna buy that. I'm not really tempted by it. So those are the new product releases that have come out lately that either caught your eye or caught my eye or both. And I feel like I've successfully talked myself out of buying them. I'm telling you, this is such a good exercise. Anytime you are trying to save money or just trying not to spend a lot on makeup, and you're tempted by some new releases, or even not new releases, any product that you're tempted by, especially color products like eyeshadows, lipsticks, things like that. If you have a decently sized collection already, chances are you can probably come up with a pretty close dupe to it. I especially have fun trying to dupe eyeshadows with my collection. It's actually a ton of fun to just like lay all my palettes out in front of me and kind of pick and choose colors. I really enjoy it. So I definitely plan to continue doing these videos every couple months whenever it seems like there's enough tempting new releases coming out. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know if there are any new releases or old releases that you have duped with your collection. Other than that, definitely make sure you give this video a thumbs up so that I know you liked it, and subscribe if you have not already. I upload every Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and sometimes Sunday, so I would love to see you again soon. And I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll talk to you next time.